Hi guys, I just filmed this sesame chicken TGI Friday recipe and I think it actually turned out really well. It tastes really good, so please do stick around and watch the recipe of this video.
Right, so I started by marinating my chicken with 2 tablespoons of soy sauce, so light soy sauce, and also 1 tablespoon of Chinese cooking wine. So you can find this in the World Foods aisle in Tesco. And then I also added 1 egg white. And I just mixed that thoroughly into the chicken, making sure that it was all thoroughly coated and that the egg was all sort of broken up. And then once that was probably marinated for about half an hour, I added in a good amount of corn flour. So I'll put the exact measurements down below in the description. But yeah, I added a good amount of corn flour, and you're basically going to add that straight into the bowl and mix it into the chicken. So this is going to sort of help get the chicken nice and crispy. Corn flour is what sort of gives it a nice crunch. So you're just going to mix that thoroughly into the chicken. As you can see, it's kind of all clumping together. So what you want to do is get yourself a tray and empty out the chicken and separate all the pieces out because they've kind of clumped together because of the egg. So we're just going to use your fingers to separate the chicken. So once that's all separated out, I went in again with some more corn flour. So I'm just using a tablespoon to sprinkle it on the areas that I'd missed. And I'm just patting in the corn flour with my fingers just to make sure that all of the chicken is kind of coated in that corn flour so that it can all get nice and crispy. So you basically want to flip it over and do it on the other side as well. And then once that's done, you're going to want to get your oil in your pan, put a good amount because you're basically deep frying the chicken, and you're going to fill it up, get it up nice and hot. I set it to the deep fry mode. I tested a bit of butter and it seemed like it was hot enough, so I started adding in my chicken. So for the amount of chicken I had, I think I did it in 2 or 3 batches. You basically don't want to add too much chicken in one go because it brings the temperature of the oil down and then it won't cook nice and crispy. So do it in batches. So yeah, add in your first batch of chicken. And once you've added it in, you're going to want to sort of move it around so that the chicken doesn't stick together. So separate any bits that have stuck together and move the chicken around. And once it looks something a little bit like this, you're going to want to remove it from the pan. So I'm going to put down the exact time you're going to want to fry it in the description, but yeah, at this stage I removed it from the pan and I started making the sesame sauce. So I started with 1 sort of tablespoon of sugar for the amount of chicken I had. 2 tablespoons of sugar, and then I added 1 tablespoon of clear honey. And I also added soy sauce, so I'm just adding 2 tablespoons of soy sauce. I also add ketchup, so I think it's 2 tablespoons of ketchup, just ordinary Heinz will do. And then I'm also adding some vinegar. I'm adding a tablespoon, 2 tablespoons. And now I'm adding probably about 3 or 4 tablespoons of water. And I'm just going to give that a thorough mix, make sure all of the ingredients are combined and broken down together. So just give that a thorough mix. Don't worry if there's still some tiny bits of ketchup that aren't mixed in because they will melt once you put it into the pan. So I warmed up my pan and I just dunked it straight in. And as you can see, the sugar's kind of caramelizing the sauce and it's getting nice and sort of syrupy. And then what you want to do is basically cook it out for about 5 minutes and then add some corn starch that you've mixed in. So that's about a teaspoon of corn starch mixed with some water. and you mix that together, and then you add it to the sauce so that it will thicken out. As you can see, it sort of thickens the sauce really quickly, so you add that in and you mix it with the sauce in the pan to get it nice and thick. Now that's looking good. So after a minute or so, you're going to want to re-add your chicken. And then you're just going to basically want to mix it in the sauce. So I sort of felt that I maybe didn't make quite enough sauce, but I think it was actually okay in the end. But yeah, I might have made slightly more just to sort of coat all of the chicken, because I think in TGI's it's really, really saucy. So yeah, if you want it on the more saucy side, make more sauce. So just mix all of that into the chicken, make sure it's all coated. And then I'm also going to add about a tablespoon of sesame oil. So you want to add that right at the end so that it sort of maintains its flavour. It gives the chicken a nice new dimension as well. So mix that in. And then once that's done, I think all I did was top it with some toasted sesame seeds, and you're basically done. Toast the sesame seeds, sprinkle it on top of the chicken, and that's your TGI Friday sesame chicken strips. So yeah, I think these tasted really good, but what I wanted to do is sort of try the sauce with some Jack Daniels added in. So I made another batch of chicken and another batch of sauce. So it's a similar sort of, exactly the same sauce, but I'm just doubling up because I had more chicken. So I'm adding 2 tablespoons of brown sugar. I'm adding my clear honey, so I'm adding 2 tablespoons of honey. I'm adding my soy sauce, so that's another 2 tablespoons. And then I'm also adding my ketchup, so that's 2 tablespoons of ketchup. A tablespoon of vinegar, and my water as well. And then last but not least, I'm also adding 2 tablespoons of Jack Daniels. So I just wanted to see whether this was going to make any difference to the sauce, so I'm just adding that in there, and then I'm going to give it a thorough mix like I did before. And then I'm just going to dunk it into the pan and let that simmer for a bit. Once it looks something a little bit like this, I then add in the cornstarch mixed in with the water. So you just dunk that straight in and mix it into the sauce so that it can thicken it up a little bit. So this time around I had a lot more sauce because I wanted the chicken to be more coated. So yeah, it's more than the first time that I made it. So I'm just mixing in the cornflour into the sauce to thicken it up. So yeah, that's nice and syrupy, nice and thick. It's looking good. And I'm just re-adding the chicken. I then sort of tossed it in all the sauce. Like I said, there was a lot more sauce this time round, and I think that was really nice because the chicken was really sort of coated in the sauce and it was really sticky like how it is in TGI. So yeah, I'm glad I made more sauce this time round. So I'm just mixing that in. And then I'm also going to add in the tablespoon of sesame oil and mix that in. Looking good. And then I'm just adding some spring onions straight into the pan, just cutting it with some scissors to save time. So I'm cutting it on a diagonal to try and make it look a bit pretty. And then last but not least, I'm just topping with some sesame seeds. And yeah, I think it tasted good. To be honest, there's not a huge difference between adding the Jack Daniels or not, so it's entirely your choice. And yeah, do try this recipe out.
I'm just gonna give it a taste. So crunchy. It's delicious. I would definitely make this again. It tastes really similar to the TGI Friday recipe. So please do watch the recipe and let me know what you think.